On behalf of Tait Environmental Services, I would like to welcome you to our online California Designated Operator course, designed to prepare you to take the ICC California UST System Operator exam. We'd like you to leave today's class with some knowledge that you didn't have when you came into the class today. I'd like to briefly introduce our course outline for today's class. We're going to touch on the objectives of the course and then get into the meat of our topic today, which is a review of UST systems. Now, I'd like to take that breakdown of the agencies that provide these regulations just a step further, just for your edification. Within the state of California, we talked about how these UST regulations stem from the EPA. Within the state of California, there are two primary agencies that are involved in regulation making with respect to underground storage tanks. We'll start our discussion with the automatic tank gauge. And we introduced the automatic tank gauge earlier in that it can be used as a component of an overfill protection system. And we talked about the fact that this float can send a signal to the monitoring panel when the product level reaches 90%, thereby sending that overfill alarm, horn, as well as light, activating that and alerting the delivery driver. And we mentioned that piping needed to be secondarily contained. Let's talk a little bit about how one might go about doing that, about the actual materials that can be used to provide secondary containment. And we'll start with FRP, or fiberglass reinforced plastic piping. And that has long been the standard in our industry. I'm holding up an example of FRP piping. And you can see with this example, we have a primary pipe here in the center, and we have secondary containment around the outside. And like we've discussed, if there is a breach of this primary piping, that stored product is simply going to flow through this interstitial or annular space. And in the case of a setup like this, that's going to flow back into a sump where it can be contained, and a sensor can detect that, indeed we have a problem. And we'll talk a lot more about that in our release detection section. Please know that any tank repair or upgrade record, so if a repair is done to the tank, for example, the records of that repair need to be maintained for the life of the tank. And that's an important thing to note. We'll follow that up with some information about the exam itself, how to register, test-taking strategies, etc., and then conclude the day with a description of the monthly designated operator inspection. And lastly, but no less important, for those that will actually be conducting the on-site monthly inspections, we want to ensure that you are armed with the tools to do that in a safe manner.